Hello, welcome once again to Thinking Outside the Box. Ladies and gentlemen, I am privileged to introduce to you a team of colleagues where we're going to discuss one of my books called Sustainable Environmental Law. This is a new book that talks about the nitty-gritties that have to do with how to conserve, preserve, protect the environment. Listen, in this book I make quite interesting allusions of how we can develop and maintain the principles of emerging environmental policies in terms of regulation. But I also talk about the different types of energy, for example, renewable energy, nuclear energy, geothermal energy, wind energy, solar energy, waste redual energy, what they call landfills, blue economy, and even things to do with when we say the ocean has lost its memories. What do we mean by that? We also talk about the doctrines of rebus sic stantibus, which establishes what they call permanent sovereignty over natural resources. We're also going to focus on what they call jus cogens as a right to expropriate, more so as an expression in terms of sovereignty in order to safeguard our natural resources. So get ready as we engage in what they call pacta sunt servanda, meaning whatever is carried out on our environment should be carried out in good faith. So I've got a delegation of one of my friends here, experts in their own right, and they're going to introduce themselves as we begin to discuss sustainable environmental law. My friend right over here, sir, you're welcome. What's your name and tell us what you do?
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being on this platform. My name is David Alicha. In my background, I'm a forester who then went on to the Queen of England's estate in Kew Gardens in London, where I specialized in botanic gardens and green space management.
Excellent. Botanical gardens and green space management. My friend, we're talking about serious business here. Yes, my friend, tell us.
I'm Timothy Barongo. I've got a background in forestry and medical field. So I'm glad to be here to share with you details concerning sustainable development and living in a green environment.
So when you say a background in environmental and medical, what exactly do you mean?
I have studied forestry at degree level, but I'm also doing medicine. So I'm going to combine the two so that I can best be able to help you.
Wow, these are incredible guys. These guys are all foresters, bachelors in forestry, masters in forestry. At the same time, some of them are now doing MBS, we call it MBS CHB, the medicine, right? Bachelors of medicine and dental surgery. So tell us, Mr. David Alicha, as a man who has been working in England for some time and working of all places in the Queen's Gardens, what do you think is there that we need to have in Africa, or what do we have in Africa that they need to have there?
Thank you very much. I appreciate the fact that I spent three years, I was given 3 years in the Queen's Estate. And one of the things that I appreciated most is that, first of all, they sustain what they have. In other words, they keep it, they maintain it. We have, for example, Entebbe Botanic Garden. It was started when the British Empire took over Uganda. Now, when you compare what is happening to Kew, the Queen's Estate, and what is happening to Entebbe, because initially Entebbe was supposed to reflect what Uganda looks like on first visit. Now, today when you go to Entebbe, it's not like that, for some reason. You don't see the kind of quality, the kind of reflection of our cultural landscape. Entebbe should show you, for example, what Busoga looks like, the plants of Busoga, the plants of Buganda, and what they mean to the people, the Kifabakazi, what it does, Wabugia, which was recently discovered and used in the treatment of corona. So we have a long way to go. I forget also Prunus africana, which works on treating old man's disease, prostate.
Wow.
So the environment, I feel we are leaving out things. We need educational aspect, and that's where these botanic gardens come in, and they should be strengthened to portray what good living should be. If it's pollution, we should know that there are plants which clean the air. So best practice should be seen at institutions like botanic gardens. Yes.
Excellent. Yes, Timothy, tell us something in your experience in Uganda. Of course, I know you're widely traveled. You've been to Germany, you've been to China, you've been to quite a number of nations. And as a forester yourself, but also as an expert in the field, you've also participated in what do you call it, gardening and stuff, international hotels, some of the best hotels in Africa. What do you think Africa needs to do in terms of maintaining a green economy?
First of all, Africa, we need to go where we have an advantage economically. In terms of green, in terms of plants and biodiversity, Africa is one of the best destinations. When you look at the position, the geographical location of Africa, where we are at the equator, and the kind of rainfall that we receive, this continent is in position to support a lot of flora and as well as fauna. But today we are talking about flora, that's the plants. Unfortunately, we are competing where we are disadvantaged. And yet, if we competed in terms of forests, in terms of plants, we would have an advantage. There is a lot of medicine world over. Most of the effective medicine and actually the active ingredients in drugs come from trees. He's already mentioned Prunus africanus that deals with prostate cancer and so many other cough extracts and medicines. Natural products come from plants, and the best destination is here where we could get such a variety, and we will get richer as a country, as a continent. So we need to do more research. We need to restore what we've lost. Due to the current industrialization and the current levels of scientific technological development, we are destroying so much of our landscape simply because of the machinery that we are getting. I mean, we are misappropriating the machinery and the technology we've got. Instead of using it to help plant the trees, to help establish greenery on a large scale, we're using the technology we have got to destroy the trees. You can imagine in the last 100 years alone, Uganda has lost like over 80% of forest cover. If that continues at that rate, the next 20, 30 years, I'm afraid we won't have green to boast of. So unless we arrest the situation now and use our legal systems we introduce and strengthen the policies that are going to enhance our capacity to develop green, we are in for it. We're not progressing well.
I am particularly disturbed by the fact that especially people like you who have widely traveled in Europe, in America and the likes, when you come from there, my brother David here and Timothy, you've traveled widely, much more wider than I have, and when you come, you still seem to be comfortable with the things that are happening in Africa. I'm talking about things to do with pollution. I'm talking about things to do with what are the things called Uvela, like the throwing of Uvelas everywhere. I'm talking about things to do with you know, the Namambe floods left, right, and center, the swamping and stuff like that. What's the problem? Is it something that are we copying the world in the West that that's the way to go? Are we being negligent? Are you affected by your nation? And you worried that something is going to go wrong? Yes, David.
Okay, it's there's something we call pastel analysis. When you're analyzing situations Of course, we have SWOT and PESTEL, but you look into political, economic, legal, social, technological, and then environmental. There's a combination of factors that can deter your ability to be effective in an area. You may come as the best person, because I many times look at myself, I come here and then I go away and have to teach in China. They embrace what I'm teaching. They know that, oh, David has come from the Queen's Estate, want some of what he has. Then you come to Uganda and your fellow people say, oh, he's the David we know. So there's that element also. What can we get from him? But someone else who knows your value will give you the audience to do what you do. So there's a combination of factors. However, we try with the platforms that accept us. On a number of occasions, we've had the platforms of universities. I've had, for example, to lecture in the Faculty of Architecture at Uganda Matters University, lecturing contemporary landscape architecture, sharing with the architects and teaching them, for example, in the elements of flood management, telling them that, look, we don't have to have paving everywhere, okay? And also to teach them that we need regulation. When I left the UK, they were regulating. They were saying, okay, this percentage should go to a building and a certain percentage to the green space. But you find a developer coming to Uganda and he sometimes wants to use the whole space he has been given to put a building. No single amount of green. So that means that when it becomes hot, this is where we get the heating effect. When the heat, the sunshine comes, it means that at night, the paving and all the gray is going to release heat. What we call in technical terms, urban heat, island effect. And in some countries that monitor, like the UK, it results into what we call heat strokes. So when I'm having that platform to teach, especially at Uganda Matters, I would make an emphasis on this.
Yes.
And say, people, when you're doing your plans, think about the percentage of green that is in a plan, and then the percentage of gray. And if it were possible, and this could be pushed to policy level, they would say every plan that is being approved must have a landscape plan.
Absolutely.
That could become policy, forcing everyone to make sure that they plant trees, they plant shrubs,
Yes.
to reduce on the overall impact of global heating
Yes.
and in urban heat island.
Yes.
So the platforms we have had are there, and we are trying within our little means to influence, and also to be role models. Where you have a chance, you try. Where you've been given opportunity, you try.
Excellent. You heard from the Queen's expert themselves. Perhaps now the King's expert themselves. My friend, Dr. Barongo Timothy, tell me, you are one of those guys who now is priding themselves in the medical field. Tell me something. What is the relationship between this greenery that we're talking about? You know, you talked about Wambuga, what do you call that?
Wabugia
Ugandensis. Say that again.
Wabugia Ugandensis.
Wabugia Ugandensis. Wabugia Ugandensis, by the way, is where they made Covidex.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere. Professor Gwang used Wabugia Ugandensis and some other plants to make Covidex. So I want the medical man here to tell me the relationship between the greenery. Why is it important to maintain the harbors? Perhaps, what do you call it, going harbor, maybe? We've had a lot of harbor everywhere. Harbor this, harbor that. What was that green thing that was very sour? Let's put it in bottles. The green thing. There's that thing that was green and was sold almost everywhere. Yeah. So tell me, as a medical field, is this the way to go? Because we fear. People say, let's go, what do you call it, bio or whatever, harbor, but then we don't have the right dosage. You may perhaps what? Dose yourself up. As a medical fellow, do you think this could be the future? Because listen, when COVID hit the world, remember, one of the countries that was actually expelled from the World Health Organization was one country that actually said they had come up with an invasion of what? Of COVID, and they were using their harbor things. Today, as we speak, Professor Wang, when he started this COVID, remember, everyone was on their throat. Now, he's celebrated to have actually almost kicked out COVID. So you, as a medical fellow, tell us, do you think it's necessary for us to go harbor, or should we maintain this paracetamol, penicillin, what do you call it, penicillin, other things. Yes, sir.
Much as it is good to go herbal, because it is, first of all, it is natural. So these products are biodegradable, and it's a big difference. Many synthetic products may not be easily biodegradable, but most of the plant products are biodegradable, so they won't cause, the risk of cancer is less, because the body can easily deal with them and digest them and metabolize them and excrete them out of the body. However, one challenge with the herbal method is that the contemporary herbal approach is that the research done is insufficient. For example, the dosage is not, it's questionable. Most of them don't give you the proper dosage. You know, anything can be poisonous. Even just having food without a measure can result into serious challenges, health challenges, you know. So the same applies to the herbal medicines. We need to control the intake. We need to control the dose, because we don't know what active ingredient is inside there. Some active ingredients are poisonous at certain levels of concentration. You know, you may take it at a certain level of concentration and where it will not be poisonous. But we need to have research. What's the therapeutic window? By that I mean the gap in concentration, the limits within which that medicine won't be harmful, but it will be doing a good work. Because if you take too long, it may not work. And too high may cause injurious effects to you. So we need more research. We need to invest more into the herbal medicines and these plants and extract the active ingredients and test those ingredients against diseases they are purported to cure, so that we can see what dose can destroy a certain number of bacteria, or what dose can remove a certain toxin, quantity of toxin from the body, and then we can study that out of the body, you know, and then we transfer it to the body afterwards. But just taking the herbal medicine, like you have a jerry can somewhere, and keep drinking, keep drinking, I really have a problem with that.
The only problem is that the demystification of what we call some of these herbal medicines, because of the foreign culture. Because for us, everything herbal is interpreted perhaps to be traditional and therefore having some kind of demonic, intuitions into them. So every time you tell people to go herbal, they're like, oh my goodness, I think that is satanic. I know you come from a pastoral point of view, but listen, it is even scripture that one of the gentlemen in the Bible, who was actually told, okay, if you want to debate between me and your God, I'm going to eat vegetables and let you guys eat meat. Who was that? Daniel. And what happened? The man took how many years? How long did he do it? Was it a week or so?
10 days.
About 10 days. And by the time they came back, this guy who was actually a vegetarian was more healthy than them. So why are you stopping us, Dr. Barongo, from going herbal when you're saying be careful? I thought that's the way to go. I'm going to tell you something about another guy called Dr. Ibi, I think, from the US. Dr. Ibi from the US is a black pastor, unfortunately, but he prided himself in using what they call traditional herbal medicines in terms of healing. His argument was that we have plants, greenery plants, that are naturally alkaline in nature. And he said, no virus can exist in an alkaline environment.
That's true.
And he said, all diseases, whether cancer, whether AIDS, name it, are purely acidic. So he said, the only thing you need to do to maintain your body from any kind of disease is to keep your body with a high pH value in terms of alkalinity in it. And that is true, and we've seen that in COVID. Without telling us to eat lemon, to eat pineapple, to eat apples, stuff like that. Dr. Arabi himself was actually called, he was a black guy in America and accused for practicing medicine without a certificate. And the judicial officer called him and said, give us 17 people, only 17, who you believe with documented evidence that they've been healed using your traditional medicine. Dr. Heavy brought actually 150 people, including people who had been cured of AIDS, including Michael Jackson's cousin. He's a guy who says if you go herbal and you go to he used to come to Africa to look for roots and herbs and stuff like that. So, don't you think that this is a gift that Africa has that we are negating? My brother David.
No, I totally agree with you. I'm also a believing man. I believe it says in the Bible that the leaves are for the healing of the nations.
Say that one more time.
The leaves are for the healing of the nations.
There you go.
Yeah. And also life began in a garden. The Garden of Eden was a paradise. So when I look at countries like Singapore that I've visited, you find that there is green everywhere with a city in a garden vision. And seeing that we are blessed with such fantastic weather has a challenge that sometimes we take it for granted. We think that since it's so nice, we have constant rain, we relax about it. I would urge you and say that we need to enhance and turn it into a resource that other people can come and study and say this is the pearl of Africa. But not settle for that. Also do model farms. Already this is happening, but we need to increase it. Model farms, good farm planning.
Yes.
Plant trees, useful trees. Yes, that thrive in our environment.
Yes.
The Kitaferis, Graviola species, touted for a lot of health benefits. You see that? Then the pine trees which clean air, pollution, remove pollution. Ficus benjamina, by KCCA, Ficus benjamina is a toxin removing tree. You know, you move in a certain area and you find there's too much pollution, but where you have these nice trees, you move through and you actually feel better.
Yes. Very good. Dr. Barongo, tell us something in that respect as well, because we are struggling as Africans to think that we maybe are the dark continent, like they say. On the other hand, these guys from the other side think we are paradise. Every time I had an opportunity to travel one time, and when I was flying back at the Tele airport, I have never seen a beautiful scenery like that. I could see the other airports, but this was beautiful. The only problem is when I landed in Entebbe and began moving from Entebbe to Kampala. Oh my goodness, the dust, the potholes, the what? What is wrong with Africa? You are the guys who are representing us there. Tell us.
I'm a medical student.
Yes.
But Africa's challenge is it is multi-sectoral. It's so difficult to handle one aspect like greenery alone in isolation. You need to approach it from different sectors and disciplines. For example, the political will has to be there. By political will, I mean sustainable political will, because we are talking about sustainable management, sustainable development. So, sustainable political will is not simply a decision. By the way, Uganda has some of the best policies in Africa, and people have come from far and wide to study our policies, but the implementation is not that good. So, what you need is a sustainable political will that must be able to stand the test of time. We get excited sometimes, yes, and then we say we're doing this road, but then the quality, like the layers we use, become very thin in the cities. So if we can have the political will that's sustainable, that is strong enough, it will be able to be a driving force. Number two, the economy. Our economy is not as good as those in the West and elsewhere. First of all, we are capable of having a good economy, but we have economic dysfunction. You know, we have pockets within our economic system that are dysfunctional, whereby you find that the government at the end of the day does not have enough money to make the standard roads. When I was in Germany, they were putting up a road that had many layers, almost a meter thick. And I said, wow. And here we have the materials they have got from here. The stones, the gravel, it's got from here. We don't import it. So we should be able to do roads that are permanent